The views and opinions expressed by the Open Ranks podcast are that of the host and do not reflect the official policy or authority of the military. The content provided by the Open Ranks podcast is not intended to disrespect or offend any of our fellow service members, past or present, nor is it our intent to disrespect or offend any gender, race, religion, or sexual orientation. Please enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of Open Ranks. I am your host, Henry Paul III, and I'm joined here by Walter Cooper, Kalen Postel, and Khalil Wright. Before we get started, I want to say a couple things. It is Women's History Month. I want to make sure that we put that out there and send a message to all of the women that have created history, are actively creating history, as well as all the women in our everyday lives, that we see you and we appreciate you. Also want to send a special thanks to everybody who's been checking in with us thus far. If you've made it all the way up to episode 4, still listening, still enjoying what you're hearing, we thank you and hope to continue to have your support going forward. Today is going to be a special day talking about organizational dynamics and leadership. I think it's a challenge that we all have to overcome being a part of the military. I'm glad Khalil is here so we can get some more hilarious insight from the Army in comparison to the Air Force. And this won't be the first time that we discuss leadership, but it is going to be like a foundational episode, kind of give us a reference point for all the later times that we talk about it. But before we get into anything like that, Caleb, I got to ask, how you doing, my brother?
I'm cool, man. It's a little late over here, but I'm up. We here. The show must go on.
For sure. Walt, how you holding up?
I'm good. I'm out here in Seattle, so I'm buying rain gear.
Buying rain gear. I hope you buying more beanies because you got that joint on every time we get here.
Dang, we talking about
that bitch tight.
That's wild.
I just wanted to let people know.
I look good.
Khalil, what's popping? You missed episode 3. We had Gary Jones on here, also known as Champ Adam. And he was talking about his music career as he's transitioning out of the military. And we know that you make music too. Kind of wanted to see if you had anywhere for the people to hear what you got going on.
Yeah, I do. If you are looking for my music, you can find me on SoundCloud as of now. Just look up Lil. A couple songs I got out just to help you find the search. Off the Wall, Shake on My Jeans, Creeping, Anxiety. That's my favorite one personally.
Yeah, shake on My Jeans and Anxiety. They're my top 2 right now.
Yeah, but there's a lot more music coming. A lot more music coming.
Word. Which is the one you said was kind of like paying homage to Juice WRLD? Was that the jeans one?
Blood on My jeans joint.
So there's as far as paying homage to him, yeah, I rapped on his Blood on My Jeans beat, and the title of my song is Shake on My Jeans.
Okay. Word. That's dope. When it comes to leadership, man, how excited are we to get into this can of worms?
It could get a little spicy, so that's always fun.
I'm excited. Let's get it.
You excited, Khalil? How you feeling?
I love talking about leadership, man. Feel like it's doing my contribution to make the world a better place.
We like those
shots.
That mean the people in for a treat then. What brought me to this topic was listening to Draymond Green talk about how a lot of the players get blamed for everything that's wrong with how their careers turned out, but there's never any heat or any criticism offered for where these organizations stands and how some of these coaches and player developers aren't necessarily the best for getting these young guys where they're going. And I thought that correlated to the military, like hand in hand, right? There's a lot of young airmen, young troops that come into the military, and everything about our organizations and the way we treat people isn't best either. Yet and still, this airman might find themselves outside of the gate, right, unable to get back in. Whereas the supervisor and or squadron or flight that might have failed him or her as they were progressing through their career gets to go through skate free. So I wanted to touch on that. I saw him talk about that, and I was like, yeah, that's a lane, that's a avenue that we can take. Some airmen really can't figure it out. I know we had 2. Well, one I'll talk about. This individual set our smoke pit on fire, and he set our microwave on fire, and we couldn't eat our lunch for a week. Failed 3 PT tests, and the list is longer, but everything that happened was in about 6 months. All this took place in about 6 months. This person is no longer serving with us, and I do wish them well, but There are airmen that can't
Hey,
figure it out. Have y'all
he
encountered any of those?
hey, he did what he set out to do. He was trying. I'm trying to get out of here by any means necessary. I'm getting out of here.
Bro's a whole arsonist out here.
He really was. He really was. Didn't even think it was
um,
possible.
I can't say that under my either direct supervision or laterally when I was an airman that it was too many people I was around that just could not figure it out to the point where they probably shouldn't be in the military. But I've definitely been around those guys. Like when we was in the dorms, we saw many people come and go, and during our time there, I don't know if y'all remember they got 8 ball.
Yeah.
Shit. Every
Yeah.
time we seen dude, he was high as a kite. He was on cloud nine, eyes red, eyes low. He every single day I seen dude, he was high. So obviously somebody like that, like I don't mind drug use at all, but it's just not. It doesn't go with the career path that he chose. You can't be doing that while you're in the service. So that's somebody that I can point to and say, yeah, he probably shouldn't have been there.
Hold on, you don't
Right.
mind drug use?
Nah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, as long as somebody is actively aware of whatever it is that they're doing and they're doing it under their own it's their own decision. I don't give a damn if you ain't bothering nobody. Do what you want.
Got
Righteous.
I can't, ain't much you could say to that. Coop, what you got, man? Any
you.
airmen that face some insurmountable challenges that you were aware
Uh,
of?
Y'all gonna get me drug tested, man. Damn.
Hey, man, as long as you pass, it doesn't really matter.
Who circle you in? Everybody gonna get drug tested, damn it.
Oh man.
No, yeah, I've definitely had some peers that just couldn't get right. As far as airmen goes, there was only really one that was like directly under me, and he just, I don't know what was going on with bro. It wasn't that he was trying to get out or anything like that. He just his decision making skills was not there. I don't know. One time we found him like, okay, so on top of the plane there's these like connection points, right? It's like fall protection. Basically, you're in a harness and he's walking across the wing, but you got two connection points attached to you. So like you're supposed to connect to at least one regardless of
Mm-hmm.
circumstances, My boy was walking across the wing and he ain't had nothing connected at all. And I like walk out the office and see him. I'm like, yo, what is
Hey,
you
how
doing, bro?
how
That's
high
not
how
safe.
high up are you on the wingtip? How high is that in the air?
Oh, it's at least 25,
Uh,
30 feet, bro.
yeah, it's high. It's
You
Cause
know,
a
high.
dare, cause a whole daredevil.
for real. So yeah, we had to get him for that one. He had to come on down. Pretty much like deserted him on the task. Like, nah, bro, this ain't it. So yeah,
That's
we had
crazy.
some that were, like I said, my peers that was definitely in and then out very quickly for various reasons. But as far as airmen go, no, I didn't have none that was catching no gazebos and nothing like that on fire. So
Yeah, I can't tell you what was up with this guy, but it was over and over. We had different little situations. Staying clicked into the top of the aircraft was that was a little tedious though. It wasn't my favorite part of being up there. You
no,
basically had to backtrack every time you went forward just to stay hooked in the whole time.
yeah, definitely. I
Uh,
mean, but
so
rules are rules, and usually they
rules are
come after
rules.
somebody done broke their neck. So
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah, for
either that
sure.
or fall off the motherfucker. So the
This
choice
is
the
this
choice
is
is
true.
yours.
This is true. I ain't saying that he was right, but I am saying I understand.
yeah, I mean, but it looked bad on me,
Khalil, what you got?
if I'm the leader,
It did. Yeah, of course.
I
Yeah,
had to do what I had to do. So
for sure. Khalil, what you got, man?
um, re-ask the question.
So we're talking about different airmen or individuals that we came across who just kind of couldn't figure it out. So they weren't the ones that needed that extra grooming that we'll talk about later, but they just couldn't figure it out early into their career.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a handful of soldiers that come to my mind just off rip. I mean, when you talk about setting, gazebos on fire, that was a almost an everyday occurrence. And no,
Oh,
literally,
god
this
damn.
was like nearly an everyday occurrence,
This is why
especially
he's
when I
here.
was in AIT. It was smoke pits on fire, every day. Smoke pit closed, every day, just because people, just too many people who couldn't
Settlement.
figure it out, just in the
Figure out
same
what?
spot.
I'm not understanding how they making this possible.
How to
Like
work
People
the
the
they
don't.
fire
started.
extinguisher
It's
yourself.
as
Like,
simple as putting out your cigarette before you put it in a plastic container that holds flammable things. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what happened to our guy too. He wasn't a smoker. He was going through different little situations and felt that it would be best to kind of take on smoking as a stress relieving mechanism. So due to his inability and inexperience as a smoker, he was like drawing on one, but then throwing it away still lit. Drawing on one, throwing it away still lit. So it's just a bunch of lit buds in the joint that shouldn't be there.
Well,
And that's kind of how that happened.
Bro was
yep,
problematic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was saying I can imagine in the army. It's so many more people. You get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
literally like a little bit of everything,
Mhm.
including the things you don't want.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't you getting the large populace of American citizens, whatever that means to you.
Hmm.
So these are the individuals that are kind of like the exception of what it is that we're going to be talking about. Because for the most part, even though a lot of advancements are being made, shout out to a lot of the leaders that are in place now, currently. As a whole, we still haven't cracked that code on what it means to lead and have positive organizations for people to want to be a part of the military. And even though we sign up to be in the military, kind of voluntarily, and we kind of put ourselves in this space knowing that it's not going to be easy, doesn't mean that the shitty treatment of people is tolerable and shouldn't be reworked. But before we get to throwing tomatoes at some of those situations we've been a part of, what were some of the mistakes or lessons learned that you guys can remember from your time as a follower?
Um, I don't know. Like I wasn't a bad airman, so to speak. You know what I mean? That I don't think that there was much to there wasn't a lot that I was doing wrong. But as far as things that I could do better, obviously we can all improve. Like I didn't keep track of none that I was doing. Like when it came time to have performance reports and all of that, so I can have my bullets and shit ready. I didn't have anything to give because I didn't pay attention to it if it or it just didn't matter to me. So whatever my NCOs was doing at the time, they was just whipping up some bullshit. I don't know how they got an entire what is it, 13 lines on the EPR?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how they got the entire 13 lines of information to report on me for when I might have given them like three things and it would have been some shit like half-ass sentences like, oh yeah, I did that the food bank thing in like October or November. I can't remember what, but I did that. Like I'm giving him that type of shit to go off of, and they somehow was able to do a whole EPR from there. So not keeping track of my what I was doing. Not really being too involved or interested in the work that we was doing. So I was just kind of going with the motions and trying to having to figure that out along the way. I guess is some of the things that I needed to work on as an airman.
For sure. Coop, what you got?
I guess for me, my issue with or lessons that I or mistakes that I made as a follower was doing just that, following. We had a one of my peers. He was pretty much he had just put on rank, right? He had just become an NCO, and we were all senior airmen, so from E4 to E5, and we was completing a task, and he didn't really know. Like he was trying to get the team prepared for the task, but he was having brain farts and couldn't like spit it out. So me doing the task so many times, being in back shop, everything's repetitive. I was pretty much finishing his sentences. So for him, he was having a hard time getting it out, and he was getting frustrated because I was kind of finishing the sentence, and he was supposed to be the leader of the task at that time. He was just trying to get his footing. So another NCO that was there kind of caught on to it and told me off to the side, like, yo, you kind of got to let him stride a little bit so that he can kind of learn how to do it and be a leader. He just became an NCO, yada, yada, yada. And it kind of woke me up a little bit to being a follower more versus stepping on bro toes and kind of finishing his sentences for him. So for me, being a follower was probably my biggest hurdle in its literal sense. So if I'm gonna add anything, that's what my input is for that.
Word. Khalil, what about you, man? Mistakes you made as a follower or just lessons that you took from that time where you were a follower?
I would say a big lesson that I learned from being a follower was make sure that the person that you're following is a better leader than you are, or at least capable of leading the situation before you follow that person. Because there have been numerous tasks, at least being in the military, where there was something given to the E form below, and it was left up to us to decide who is in charge of what, and me just willingly stepping back and letting whomever, what I'm saying, guide the ship. And next thing something that was supposed to be a 20-minute task turns into a 40-minute task, turns into an hour task. Versus if I had just, what I'm saying, took control, what I'm saying, knowing that I could have got it done in 20 minutes, just go ahead and knocking it out and dealing with not having to deal with that stress of having to listen to someone else knowing you probably had the better answer.
Word. So almost sound like similar to what Coop was talking about. Your issue with followership was kind of just the situations you were in as a follower.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say for me, definitely had an issue with tardiness. Uh,
I forgot about that.
yeah, definitely had an issue with tardiness, and definitely I wasn't a troublemaker, but I was a hothead, and I did make it a point that if I found something that I didn't agree with or thought that we could have gone about a process better as it related to work functionality, I would share those sentiments honestly and passionately. And as an A1C first getting into the military, that might not have been the best way to go about things at times, for sure.
No, you just reminded me tardiness. That was probably my first wake up call in the military. I was showed up late, like my very first day at work, because I showed up there. I was walking and I didn't see the cars where everybody is usually parked at. So I was like, oh shit, I guess we coming in a little late because I think that was like the first. It was like Christmas week or something like that. So I'm thinking we show up late for Christmas or some shit. So I went back to the dorms. I went back to the dorms and got some breakfast. And one of the other dudes there, he was like, "Hey, what you doing here? Ain't you supposed to be at work?" I was like, "No, I wasn't nobody there. I'm cool." He was like, "I think you need to turn around and go back to work." So I got back to work and I walked around the side of the building and I seen all the cars. I was like, "Oh, I guess everybody showed up." I walked in the door. My NCO, very first supervisor, he's like, "Hey, where the fuck you been?" I was like, I said, I went and got breakfast. What you mean? He was like, you supposed to be here 2 hours ago. What you mean you went and got breakfast? I was like, I ain't see nobody. I really don't know how the rest of the conversation went because he blacked out. But that's when I realized, tardiness or punctuality is very important. And anybody that knows me now knows that I am a very, very punctual person. I hate running late or other people running late. So I think that's probably where that started at.
I
Gottie's the
believe
most punctual one out the group,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely,
for
definitely.
sure. I mean, it's
I
we don't
guess
have to
that one
hide it.
trip with his supervisor.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one trip with his supervisor, that was it.
That motherfucker set me straight.
You know, I think
Sorry, Eubanks.
I think that's a disconnect too, because as far as being in the military or being a civilian at a different job, if you late in the military, depending on how long it is, they gonna pull up on you. Like it ain't just
They
like a
they're
call.
coming to find your ass.
For sure,
It ain't
for
just like
sure.
a
They,
call. Like
they are
where were you
coming
at?
knocking.
They
Or
knocking
we'll
on
see
that
you
door.
tomorrow when you come in. Now they gonna bang on that door. So
Yeah, especially when you're in the dorms, the whole shop might pull up on you,
Right.
and
for
it's
sure,
too close. It's
Some,
too close for them
something
not to.
something
shit
got to
might as
be wrong if your ass ain't at work right now. Something got to
Right,
be wrong.
right. It ain't no excuse otherwise. But y'all shared some of the shortcomings y'all had. God, I know you was talking about punctuality and making sure you were keeping down all the tasks that you were doing when it came EPR time. Coop, you talked about growing as a followership, being able to step up in certain situations. Khalil, you offered the same sentiments. For either of you, what helped you overcome those shortcomings? Was it simply needing time and just learning the ropes or the military, or was it mentorship?
Well, speaking to the punctuality, I got paperwork. Cause during that during that time, I was also missing appointments and either just not going or showing up late, and it would be like medical appointments, like dental and stuff like that. And not that I just wasn't going or I didn't care. I sometimes forgot, or we was in the midst of working, and it just slipped my mind. But very quickly after that paperwork got handed down, and I had to, sign it, write my rebuttal, kind of tell my side of the story, which really didn't matter because at the end of the day, when you're wrong, right? So that was kind of, like I said, my wake up call, and I kind of realized like, all right, this shit different. You know, there's a standard that you held to, and you got to meet that or it's going to be trouble. And then as far as keeping it up with what I do throughout the year, I still ain't figured that shit out. If I'm being honest, I struggle now. And it's even worse because I have to write on myself and then for my airmen. So it's yeah, around this time of year, when you got to write all these EPRs and awards and shit like that, like it's been kicking my ass the last 2 years. So I'll let you know when I figure that out.
We'll be here to hear. We'll be here to hear the update. Coop, what you got, man? What were some of those things that helped you overcome those shortcomings? Time or mentorship?
I think it's a little bit of both, really. Of course, time and mentorship. Like I said, that NCO, he pulled me aside and kind of told me, like, yo, you got to let him stride a little bit. So for me, just thinking about the big picture, trying to be more cohesive in order to make the overall mission more efficient. Because nobody don't nobody work well under pressure. If he frustrated, it ain't gonna do nothing but trickle down. So for me, it was just learning when to kind of step in and when not to step in order to help the mission be more efficient. So uh, time and mentorship, both of them together.
Both of them together. Khalil, what about you, man?
Yeah, I would say both. Um, time from a time standpoint, uh, yeah, I definitely had to. It was a process for me to become more engaged in the activities that we were doing. You know what I'm saying? Because at first I just wasn't very. I was standoffish. Like when there was tasks, I would be quick to let other people, take leadership. And after a while of realizing that, I could get it done better. That really got me into, wanting to take the initiative for whatever operation was going on. And then I would say mentorship as well, because at the same time, while I'm going through this process myself, I had different NCOs helping me become more engaged. Because I would say that was also a big problem I had as a junior enlisted, was just being engaged in whatever it was that was being asked of us to do.
Word. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people have to deal with, especially first coming in, still trying to understand what it is that you do and what is your role in what's being done. Because followership is incredibly important. I would almost say it's more important than leadership because there's typically more followers in an organization than designated leaders. And I have designated leaders in quotes for those of you that can't see it. I took a management class when I completed my degree, and one of them broke down followership into 5 categories. The first type of followers are your sheep, who are passive in their thinking and they go along with the status quo. Whatever's being said is what they take heed to. Second is your yes people, who let their leader do all of the thinking and always side with the leader, even when they have thoughts of themselves. They're going to always say yes. Third are those who are considered alienated. These people are independent thinkers, but extremely negative and don't contribute to the don't contribute to the positive direction of the organization. Fourth is your pragmatic followers who deal with things sensibly and more realistically, but are willing to get more involved when they understand more of the direction that things are going. And then lastly, you have your star follower who thinks for themselves. They have positive energies and are actively engaged. They agree with most things, but most importantly, they have the ability and the confidence to challenge their leadership when necessary. So with those 5 descriptions out there, which description sounds like the type of follower you are? Let's start with you,
Um,
Gotti.
like right now, or when I was an
Sure.
airman.
You know what? I like that. Let's go when you were an airman, and then now, where would you classify yourself?
Mm, as an airman, uh, I probably say I was a two, not a yes man in the sense that I was seeking validation or I was trying to please anybody, but I genuinely didn't care. Like I still got the same type of mentality. If I'm at work, I'm at work. So whatever it is that needs to be done, I'm gonna take care of it during the time that it is that I'm here. So as far as like as an airman, I was like, I'm not questioning anything, like whatever. I might not understand something, but it's not at this point, I'm not that invested to where it bothers me. But now, as I've, learned more and grown more and become more involved, actively involved in the mission and knowing what it is that we're doing, and just understanding how the Air Force works, how operations works, and you know what I understand to be uh, smooth running processes, I'm more between 4 and 5. um Something got to make I always say like, hey, make it make sense. Like if some shit don't make no sense to me, then 9 times out of 10 I'm in a bad mood anyway. Like so if it don't make no sense, I'm not really fucking with it. And over the last year and a half, working so closely with, I'm in a small squadron, so working so much closer with my leadership and having the opportunities to speak with them and pick their brains and have candid conversations with them. Now, you know, if I'm gonna lead and I'm gonna do what it is I'm supposed to do as part of the team, but I will make my opinion known and I will voice any and every question that I have if I feel like it needs to be spoken on.
Word for sure. So it sounds like you kind of went from a two, and now you operate in that 4 and 5 space.
Yeah,
Like more
definitely.
the pragmatic and star follower. Cool. What you got, man? Where would you classify yourself early in your career, and then what would you say you are right now?
Shoot, man. In the beginning, I was more like a deer in the headlights, man. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Uh, you know, in the mix of like trying to figure out what it was that I was trying to learn, OJT, on the job training. I'm big on like completely understanding anything before I like really step into it and like thrive. You know what I mean? So I would say a one in the beginning, and then as my career progressed and I became an NCO, I ended up being like a 4 and a 5 for sure. Because I, like I said, completely understood what was going on, what the mission was, and what we had to do on a daily basis. It was easy for me to stand out and excel, especially when I became an NCO, especially in that leadership position where I kind of had the power at my level and down to kind of make those necessary changes in order to make it, I don't want to say easy, but the best for everybody. So that's where I would put myself, summarize it.
Word, Khalil, what you got, man? 1 through 5, where you putting yourself at?
I would say the start of my career, I was more of a two. Like I said earlier, I was quick to, let whoever wanted to be leader take lead and just kind of follow behind. Uh, but at some point throughout my career, I did strive to become more of a four and if not a five. Uh, but quickly being in Fort Hood, that got pushed quickly to a third. The alienated, independent thinker, extremely negative. Those qualities started coming out
Disgruntled.
real quick.
That boy
Yeah,
was disgruntled.
by the time I got out of Fort Hood, I was definitely a three. But now that I'm out the military, able to think freely and be whom I feel like being, I definitely am more back to my 4 or 5 mindset.
For sure. Yeah. I would say I would definitely say I feel like I've been kind of like a 4 or 5 the whole time, but I had to figure out how to better package those sentiments and those comments. And then if not me saying it, figure out who was the best person to say it. Because it's one thing to be right, it's another thing to have the right way to deliver whatever that detail or opportunity is one thing to be that person. So like Gotti mentioned that he's in a smaller squadron now. I came into a shop that was really big and then got cut in half immediately. So that kind of took all of those glass ceilings and barriers of like rank, not say out of the question, but it was like, okay, there's only like 4 or 5 of us in here. If there's things that need to be done, one of us has to do them. So that kind of threw us into like having to do some of those shift leader checklists or having to hold down night shifts and stuff on our own really, really early. And then in addition to that, we were down the hall. We were down the hall from our flight and down the hall from the commander, like maybe 3 doors away. So we got to rub shoulders with those people all the time, and all of that kind of increased the ability for me to see what was going on a lot earlier than some people are able to see. So with that, I would say that I was a 4 or 5 then and a 4 or 5 now, but a better 4 or 5 now because my delivery on certain things is a lot more tactful, and I've understood the importance of leveraging other people's ranks and position to get the things that I feel like saying or feel like should be done across in a more palatable manner.
For sure.
With those 5 styles out there labeled, we've self identified where we stand. Which have you witnessed the military embrace the most or handle, or we'll say treat the best? Out of the 5 followership styles, which ones have the military embraced the most or handled the best? What you think, Coop?
Fives and fours get treated the best, 100%. Those are the ones that get seen. Those are the ones that get recognition. Those are the ones that get awards. The threes definitely get shit on um, all the time. It just depends on who you are. Like, let's say you've been in for a while and you're a three now because you just ain't going your way or whatever the case may be. I feel like you definitely get looked at last. The ones and twos just kind of like they just there, you know. Uh,
It's
they
just kind of
need,
existing.
yeah, they need more, but I feel like they just there. The fours and fives get recognized the most to me.
What you think, Gotti?
Mm, I mean, the fours and fives are gonna more so put themselves out more than anybody else would anyway. Except maybe their polar opposite being the threes, who is just making their disdain known to everybody. So they're kind of on the radar in that sense. But I feel like the military is gonna they're gonna want to um, foster the fours and fives because eventually those are going to be the people that are going to step into those leadership roles and get higher and higher in rank. And you want those people with those traits naturally they have those traits to um, end up taking those positions. But the like Coop was saying, the ones and the twos do kind of get lost in the shuffle, and even if they're not as airmen, those like yourself, like somebody like you who's always shown these traits and always been that type of person. Somebody like me or Coop who kind of came in and didn't make too much noise. Like we could have got lost in the shuffle if we didn't have the right leadership or the right mentorship and just whatever it was within us to get us to where we at now. So they definitely, the military wants fours and fives. We need the ones and twos and even the threes because that kind of keeps everything balanced. But I don't think that we do a very good job of making sure everybody's taken care of equally based off what it is that they need and their personality types.
For sure, because a lot of you hit it right on. I mean, everything you said hit it right on the head. Because obviously, the personality type kind of trickles right into where your followership styles are going to end up. Everybody has different personalities, different ways of going about things. And your ones and twos, right? We're talking about our sheep or our yes people. They're still incredibly valuable to getting the job done. Like at the end of the day, you need more people or a good amount of people who are just going to say yes. Everybody can't have an idea or have like a counter to what's happening. You need some people who's just going to come in and do the job,
Yeah.
and whichever way things are going, they're going to go. Khalil, what you think, man? Which of the 5 followership styles have you witnessed the military embrace the most?
Um, it's funny because listening to Coop and Caleb's answer, totally different than my experience being in the military, right? And granted, you guys are in the Air Force and I was in the Army, let alone Fort Hood. So the experience is always different. Experience is always going to be different. Uh, with that being said, I definitely would say from being in Fort Hood, it seemed more like it was fostering twos and ones. Those were the ones that personally I saw get promoted more. Those are the ones that I saw getting more awards, recognition from the higher ups, and it was a crazy thing to see. Like it
Yeah,
was honestly it was honestly a crazy thing to see, and it turned a lot of fours and fives into threes. You know what? I
yeah,
just straight
because
up.
the Air Force, like, if you're not standing out, like, you're not getting shit. Like,
and
they not
that's and
fucking with you.
that's that I understand that, and like that is something that makes total sense to me. And I thought that would have been something that the military, or not the military, the army would also, you know what I'm saying, have a replica of, but no, no, not at all. Is they want people more so that will just do what the person above them is telling them to do without asking questions. Period.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And obviously, like I said, a large part of that is successful, but not perfect. What you got it?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, you still have your older senior NCOs and NCOs in the Air Force who come from that old way of thinking and that old mindset, do as I say and don't ask no questions and
Hmm.
expecting that shit to fly. And as we know, that times are changing, and the Air Force is, I feel like, is a little bit quicker to change with the times than other branches are. So we're kind of moving into this whole like innovation and why are we doing this? Is this efficient? Is this effective type of mindset? So that kind of is what we want, and that's kind of matches the people that's coming in. But the army has always been more, let's call it,
Traditional.
traditional, more traditional and
Traditional. That's
more,
that's the word.
yeah, set in their ways. So I can see how somebody like Khalil, who ain't never thought inside the box a day in his life, how that shit kind of rubbed
Mhm.
rubbed you the wrong way.
Yeah.
I
That
live
boy been
outside the
coloring
box.
outside the line since
Yeah.
kindergarten.
Yeah, my boy said
For
he live
sure.
outside the box.
Yeah, no, I agree. The military as a whole definitely could do a better job, or the Air Force specifically, of making sure all five followership traits or potential personalities are catered to. Because I remember, shout out to Staff Sergeant Brett Jernick. We went to tech school together, and then we followed each other to Charleston. And I remember as I was kind of actively showcasing where it was that I was going to end up following and following, and where the trajectory of my career was headed as a leader, there were people who had other sentiments of him because maybe he wasn't vocalizing this, or he wasn't taking classes, or he wasn't volunteering, or going out his way to do certain things. People would try to use it against him. And I remember telling him, like, yo, listen, one of us got to work. You know what I'm saying? So while I'm having a chance to go to honor guard and having a chance to do a bunch of different things, somebody got to actually want to stay here and work. And that's who he was. He wanted to stay here and work. He wasn't really into all that other stuff. And I appreciated him dearly for that, because it really gave me the room that I needed to kind of flourish. We were opposite in that way, but we both got what we wanted because that's what he wanted at the time.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely room for all sides to be appreciated, and getting to know your people helps with that. Um, and letting people be who they say they want to be, right? Because I know a lot of people who they come in, they come in wanting to be just a worker, go to work, but then they're forced to do something else, and then that turns them into a three.
Yeah, I think the Air Force is bad with that, trying to push everybody in the direction to where we're all meant to be leaders, or we're all meant to be at
Exactly the
this,
same.
the what is the promote now? Like, all trying to push us
Right.
all towards that. Everybody don't want to do that shit. Like,
They
I'm
don't.
not a person like I'm only move when I want to move. Like, I'm not moving for anything else. So I'm not doing no extra shit for the sake of getting promoted or getting this award or none of that. Like, I so happen to be in those positions based off of the shit that I am passionate about and the work that I do because that's just what's in me. But I'm never gonna do nothing for the sake of trying to keep up with Sergeant Polk. Like, fuck him. Like, he can do what he want to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like, all well, like, good for him. If you want to do that shit, cool, do that shit. But I'm not worried about him. It's a competition, but I'm gonna run when I feel like running.
It's a lot of
For
people like
sure.
that too.
I think
Yeah,
more
that's how
it's
it's
more
supposed
people
to be.
like that than not. I think it's more
Yeah.
people that just want to go to work and go home than it is that want to change the world.
And
It's
that's
people,
valuable.
and the way it's set up too. There's people that are really good at just doing the work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
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 Coming to work and excelling at what it is that they were hired to do. Um,
Yes.
but your EPR is set up, or the way the promotion system is set up, is you got to do volunteer, you got to go to school. There's so many different things that's on there that make you have to stand out from the other ones. And it'll be
It's
people that aren't really good at their job, but they have volunteer stuff. They play the game that way, and they get promoted. They get the promotion statement. So
the
it's
school shit
tricky.
be killing me.
Yes, sir.
The school shit
100%.
kills me, boy.
100%. Because I don't think it's fair. Like I said, I came in to go to school, so I didn't like people being forced to go to school, and I know they didn't want to. You feel me? Like it's like this is I'm not really doing this for like to fill out this paper. I was gonna do this regardless. Actually, it's the only reason I'm here. So
Yeah.
please leave those people alone.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
Right.
but
saying?
in their eyes, you better off, you better than me because I didn't come here to go to school. I came here to work.
Right.
But
I came here
that
because
shit
I didn't
crazy.
want to go to school.
Yeah, but now y'all making me go to school.
Now
Like
you're
this shit
making
is
me go to
crazy.
school in order to promote or progress in my
Yeah,
career. It's
that's
wild.
that's messed up. Never agreed with that at all. Um, what advice do you have for younger airmen? So we like I said, we stated where we fell on the followership scale, the followership personality scale. We stated where the Air Force tends what they tend to embrace most or support the most. What advice would you have for younger airmen starting their careers who are going to be immediately thrown into that followership role? Gotti, what's up?
Um, take control of your career from a early standpoint. So like I wish as an airman I got more involved and I was more knowledgeable about what was going on around me, whether it be at work, um, on the base, in the world. I can remember at my damn, I went up for BTZ, Airman Below the Zone. I went up on a board against four other guys, and they were asking me questions about current events and they was like, "What do you think about what's going on in the Middle East?" I ain't know what the fuck he was talking about. So whatever it is that I said to him, probably didn't, help my cases towards, eventually losing out to the to two guys who did end up getting it. So I would say take a more active role in your career and trying to get to where you want to be, because can't nobody take care of you better than you can. And that goes with learning the job, keeping track of what it is that you're doing, putting yourself out there, getting your name out there, making sure people know who you are and the work that you're doing. If that's the type of person that you are, just knowing yourself.
I would say it's good to have come in and have ideas. Like I'm not trying to shoot you down, but I will say try not to get wrapped up in those ideas and let those ideas that get shot down or potentially get shot down ruin your day or your outlook on the military as a whole. Control what you can control, um, you know, and take that to heart. Whether it's your CDCs, being to work on time, control what you can control. And that's my advice to new guys that's coming in.
What you got, Khalil?
I would say when somebody is trying to teach you something, listen. And if you still don't understand, ask questions. Because there were a lot of times in my career, and like I said, I came in at 18, and so I was super young compared to everybody else. And there were a lot of things that I just simply didn't know coming out, right? Whether it be about my career or not related to my career, just being an adult. And if I didn't know, I wouldn't ask people because I didn't want to be that guy who didn't know. I didn't want to look dumb or whatever. And looking back on it, there are plenty of things that, people had dropped in my ear when I was 18. I heard it, didn't think too much of it. And, me being 23 now, I look back at it, I'm like, yo, like if I had paid attention then, I would be way ahead, on this now. And there are just, numerous things throughout my career and throughout my life, really, that applies to. If I had just paid more attention when somebody was talking to me, and if I genuinely didn't understand, ask follow up questions to get a better understanding, it would get me further.
Well, I'm just replaying some conversations we done had back 2, 3, 4 years ago when you was in going through what you was going through, and me and
Yeah.
you was talking, and you ain't listening, and shit went some way, and I'm like, well, I told you so. You used to
I
hate to hear
mean,
that shit.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But that's the beauty of making your own decisions, I guess.
Yeah.
I wanna add to Khalil what he said. He said he was 18 when he joined. A lot of people are 18 when they come in. So you young, and there's a lot of older people that's in the military or have been in the military for years. Take that advice from them. And when I say control what you can control, it's like yourself, right? You young, this might be your first job, but learn how to manage yourself. Everything in your corner should be in tip top shape. And if it ain't, seek out that help. And like you said, listen. Listen to the motor guys because they done been in your shoes before. All them tricks and games you think you got, I'm telling you, they done went through them too. So just control what you can control and manage yourself and keep your stuff in order and tip top shape.
One more thing I probably want to add to that is pick make if as you're listening to people and allowing yourself to be mentor, make sure you pick good mentors and good have good
Mm-hmm.
people around you because that shit'll you goddamn get stuck behind that three that we was talking about, the motherfucker that been in 7, 8, 9 years and ain't progressing their career at all. They probably ain't got too much good to tell you. So that might not be the
Mm-hmm.
person you want to be taking a lot of advice from.
A
For
hundred
sure.
percent. 100%. No, I would say, man, definitely control what you can control and kill everything that is available to you. So if it's your CDCs, don't take them lightly. Any chance you get it, you have an opportunity to prove something, I say take it when it comes to just your professionalism and where you stand. CDCs are one of those first opportunities, whether it's getting to work on time, so on and so forth. I asked an unbelievable amount of questions when I first got to Charleston, so much so that I remember my first supervisor, he when I first got there, we were on day shift together, and then I went to night shift without him. And when I came back to him to ask, how are people talking about me as far as being on night shift, they were like, man, you're cool, but why you ask so many questions? And I was like, look, man, I'm new here. Everything is interesting to me. Why we park like this? You know what I'm saying? Why everything, it don't matter what it is. I'm
So
asking.
they
I
say
want
why we
100%
park like this.
assurity
Son,
of what's going on so that I don't have
I,
to never worry about not knowing later.
I absolutely will not talk to you if you ask me why we park this way.
Bro, I asked every question imaginable, bro. It didn't matter what it was, big or small. Just trying to build that Rolodex of understanding of what it is that we're doing. Definitely seek out a good mentor. I'm trying to think, man, and just be damn good at your job, bro. Like, just be good at your job. If you're good at your job, there's literally no excuse of being a shitbag or anything like that. But I promise you, if you're good at your job, that's how you build tolerance and then be trustworthy, be somebody of high character. So
Yeah.
whatever it is you say you're gonna do it. And definitely do that for your work and then for anything else so people know that you're not playing.
You get a long leash that way, people will leave you the hell alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You ain't got to worry about people coming and double checking on you and figuring out what it is that you're doing. Be damn good at your job, build that trust, have that tolerance. That way, when you do fall short or you have some mishaps, somebody will want to rally around you and somebody will want to look out for you. Because mentorship was all I had, transitioning from followership into leadership, which is where we're headed next. But I earned the support group that I ended up relying on by just doing my damn job.
Bro, I don't know why, but when you talking about you asked all them questions, you ask people how you park. That just made me think about when you used to show up at the defect real late with them last shorts on with the tights and
Wow.
the rainbow free runs.
Why?
Wow.
Why did it make
I
you?
don't
Why did it
I
make you
don't
think of
know
that?
why,
Why?
bro, but that
Why?
like that
First off, why are we
that
talking about
that shit that shit just matches who you was at the time. You doing
Bro,
that
we
type of shit at work, and then out
bro,
of
we used to
work,
be
this
on
is how
his
you
ass.
showing up. All of that shit just comes together to make so much sense.
No,
you
we
know
used to
what?
really be on his ass about that
You
shit.
know what?
Because
I
I said I wouldn't talk to you at work, and I didn't want to talk to you outside of work because that's how you used to show up, and everything is just adding up and making sense.
so
Yeah, dog.
for
If you'd have asked me
context,
that question, why we park like that, I would have ignored you from that point on.
For
for
sure.
sure. Like I can't promise that I asked that question specifically, but I
No,
do know I
you
asked
did.
every little question imaginable.
That is fact. Now you can't. I'm not accepting
No,
any.
I'm not saying that I didn't, but I was using it more so to illustrate how far I went into asking questions. Even when I'm in class with my students now, I'm like, yo, this is your learning environment. This is your career. You better ask whatever question you have. Odds are the person next to you wish you'd ask. So
Bro,
it is what it is. Put it out there.
whenever the
I'd have
E4
gave
scene,
you.
bro. Whenever the E4 scene, bro, coming up, I'm like, fuck, look, this nigga, like,
You
motherfucker.
damn right. And I hit the
Bro,
civilians even worse. I hit the civilians even worse. Miss Liner, I used to go to work on day shift, come back on night shift, and review all my CDCs with her.
his nickname would have been Questonia, bro. Here come Questonia, bro. Not doing
That's an awful nickname.
it. Here come Questonia.
Probably how I made people feel at the time, man.
Oh
All right,
man,
but we transitioning from followership to leadership. Tell me about something. What was an experience, a lesson learned? Tell me something about the first time you became a supervisor, because now it's your turn to deal with the fact that somebody missing appointments, somebody asking too many damn questions. It's on you to be that person to handle that. What was that like? Go
Hmm.
ahead, guys.
Well, all right, I'll tell a story. So it's had a guy under me, and completely unrelated to work, but the whole airman concept, doing shit off base. You know, we still have to deal with that because you are in the military 24/7. So I was going to the barber shop, and I stopped by the shop to talk to one of my airmen and holler at him like, "Hey, what's going on? See how he's doing." And I had recommended my barber to him, a little while ago, and he was telling me like, "Yeah, I went and, he was super rude and da 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 and then da da." I'm like, all right. I mean, I've been going here for like 2.5 years. I ain't never heard nothing like that, but whatever. I ain't think nothing of it. So I get to the shop and I'm getting my haircut, and the barber, he's an older like Caribbean dude. He's like from Trinidad, I think. And so he, like that type of person. So me and him was talking. He was just brought some shit up. He said, "Yeah, man, we had a real young guy in here. He was really rude and da da
Oh
da."
my
Not knowing that I ain't put two and two together yet. But he's like, yeah, he was mad because he didn't set an appointments, and I kept having my appointments before him, and he got really mad and he stormed out. And now I'm matching this story up with the story that my airman told me, and then I'm also thinking about his little fiery ass personality. I was like, oh,
God. Fiery.
this motherfucker is shitting where he eat. Now keep in mind, like, we small here, bro. So it's not too many places that you can go and get a good haircut from, like a black barber shop. So I'm like, bro, you not gonna be out here doing like. I'm like, all right, cool. So I was like, oh, that's my airman. Don't worry about that. We gonna take care of that. So I get back to the shop. I get back to the shop. I'm like, hey, come here, come talk to me. Explain, tell me what happened again. And then he told me, I was like, all right, so this is what really happened because I just talked to him. You ain't know I knew the motherfucker like that. So I go off on his ass, and I made him go back to the barber shop and apologize.
Oh
Cause
dang,
he
dang, that's
ain't,
tough.
he ain't,
Hey,
I
so
might
you
have
said
looked
he
at you
was
like, boy,
messing
I'm
up
not going back.
appointments?
no. So you
So
know,
like booking them and not showing up?
no. So a black barber shop, you're gonna wait if you
Oh
don't set
yeah.
an appointment. So he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't understand that. So he
Got you.
yeah, he there and he's waiting to get his haircut, and he's not understanding why all these people go in front of him. And again, this is like an old Caribbean dude. He not gonna explain the shit to you. He just gonna keep on doing what he doing.
Ah.
Come on, fam.
Yeah, he get mad, and I guess he got up and stormed off like, "This not right. This not how you treat people." Da da da. And the barber like, "Fuck is you talking about?"
Wow.
So yeah, I was
Wow.
like, everybody within the tri-base area goes to this barber shop. So you're not gonna be acting. Ain't no telling who's in this barber shop. Like the barber was telling me it's master sergeants. It was master sergeants in there looking at him crazy. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know who was in there, and he wanted to act crazy at the barbershop that everybody goes to. That it just so happens that your supervisor has a very good relationship with these guys. So that was just a lesson for him. This shit, you can't take this shit off. Like, everybody know who you are, and you never know when something get back to you. So that was an interesting story.
For sure. For sure. Coop, what you got, man? Something you learned, or a funny story from your first time as a supervisor. Like I said, it's your turn to deal with yourself 3, 4 years later.
Shoot, man. I remember I had just put the rank on, and you know, I'm a real reserved dude. So I don't really talk that much, so like, I don't really have no problems with nobody at work. And it is funny when I put the rank on this one individual, he felt like it was his time to kind of size me up a little bit, and I was like, ah, damn, what's the deal? Why you coming to me? So I had to check it, let him know that I can write you up now, and I don't think you want that for your career. So you need to kind of chill
Oh
out a little
man.
bit. So everybody experience is a little different, but I feel like everybody gonna have at least that one person that's gonna try to size you up. So that was my experience. I don't know what we was doing that day. I think I was doing a task and he didn't like the way I was doing it or something. He just felt the need or the right to kind of tell me what to do at the time. And I just looked over like, and he was yelling too. So I looked over like, hold on. Like I just stopped the whole procedure and just just proceeded to walk over to him, and we had a discussion about it. It got kind of heated, but all in all, it was straight. Next day, we came back to work, shook it off, whatever.
Shit. Mm,
Coop in the
Nice.
middle of the hangar sounding like Blueface. What he say? What he say before you get on your track? He be like, "Wait, hold up, I'm finna
Oh,
turn this shit up."
no, he's I'm about to get disrespectful.
About to get real disrespectful in here.
For sure, for sure. Nah, I gotta think, man. I mean, it was cool. As soon as I put on staff, I had two troops given to me immediately. So, uh,
Try
I don't.
five.
I think. What would I say? First thing I learned was just how different personalities can be. Not having to really deal with any personalities beyond my coworkers, who at this point we had worked together for so long, we was like a little family. Introducing two new people to the shop and then being responsible for them just reminded me about how far apart people can be. Because I had one troop that was just incredibly stellar, didn't need any guidance at all, came in, did what he was supposed to do. Remember, he brought his parents to the shop. I mean, he was just on that straight and narrow, and he was just rolling. I had another troop that uh what was the was the opposite of that, and in most respects is what I say. So that was a cool part, learning about different personalities, and it was cool. After going through that experience, it I then got the job as a tech school instructor, and now I'm dealing with that same difference 10 times over every single week. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of different people out there. You got to talk to people different ways and kind of figure out what works for them. So, uh, man, it's been fun so far. I really can't complain.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you on that too. Not to keep bringing up honor guard, but that was one of my very first supervisory like leadership positions, and that's when I really learned how much I like to teach and how much I like to
Hmm.
instruct and watch somebody get from point A to point B and have a hand in that and trying to figure out different ways of um, getting different people to the same point in whatever way it is in whatever way it takes to get y'all there. So I definitely feel you on teaching, and hopefully I can keep doing that throughout my career in a different space.
That shit's so much fun. As soon as
Yep.
I got down here, I thought about when we was in honor guard. And I'm like, man, you would absolutely fucking blow up in a
Yeah.
space like this because it's really nothing like it. I don't know if there's more enjoyable work because it is. I'll say the only downside is it's mentally exhausting in certain respects. Coop, you've held a leadership training position. Gotti, you have too. So it's mentally exhausting trying to get everything that makes sense in your brain to make sense for 10 to 15 other brains, and having to kind of like isolate and individualize your teaching styles for each individual person. But when you get that shit right
Yeah.
and you see people go from start to finish, you can just sit back and scratch your chin like Cooper is right now and really be satisfied that things worked, how they were supposed to work. And I don't know if there's any better feeling than that, to keep it a whole bone.
Yeah.
But we talking about leadership, man. I think it's incredibly important. There is a distinction that needs to be made between authority and leadership. Um, I see authority as the position, and then I would describe leadership as the character of the person holding that position. But how would y'all define the difference between authority and leadership?
I would say authority is given, right? It's a position that you have to respect um, to a certain point, or that attains respect immediately to a certain point. Leadership is something that it's like something you kind of born with, or something that you learn over time, but like the trait is always there, um, and it's a respect that's earned. And you can have leadership without being in a position, and you'll end up having that authority by default if you have that leadership trait. So authority is the position, like you said, and you don't necessarily have to have leadership skills, but leadership authority kind of comes with that if you're good at it. So, and you kind of got to learn that. So,
Okay. Okay. So you say if you're good at being a leader, the authority uh, comes with it. Expand on that. I think I know what you're talking about, or at least who you might have first seen that illustrated from. I'm thinking about Wes. That's who comes to mind for me, but I don't know if that's who you're.
Oh, that ain't who I thought about.
Oh, okay. As far as having the leadership position and the authority following without any like friction or fight back.
Well,
Gotti, who?
I thought about it flipped with his counterpart and how he had the authority, but he didn't have the leadership.
Oh,
Who?
oh, we can do that too. It don't
Your
matter for
boy,
real.
I ain't gonna honor
Ah,
God.
dang.
Like I said, I ain't gonna throw dirt on nobody's name, but you know who
You
we
talking
talking.
about
Matter of fact,
Cervantes?
all right, well,
All right, so let's break down these type of leaders.
oh man, that's
Both of them
crazy.
were put in a position, right? Both of them were put in an authority position. One of them led by his character allowed for people to want to work for him, right? This is Wes we talking about.
Yeah,
Wes was one of them dudes. He would ask you to do anything, and you was good with it. It didn't matter, just by the type of person that he was and the way he presented it. He was very
agreed.
tactful the way he asked you, or the way he asked you. Where versus Cervantes, Cervantes he took that position and was like, "I got the rank. You gonna do what I say," And he pretty much made people feel like they wasn't shit. Which in turn you gonna receive shitty product. So for me as a leader, I took that from Wes and try to embody that in how I lead in my leadership style, to where people want to work for me versus having to work for me, and that seemed to work a lot better than Cervantes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, shit. That was definitely one of them moments
I think he
where
might have got out anyway. So
yeah, one of them moments where I
Yeah.
definitely had to say my piece because Cervantes used to be tripping in that mode for no reason. But yeah, that distinction is important. Khalil, what you think, man? What would you sum up as the difference between authority and leadership?
I would say authority is demanded respect versus leadership being earned respect. Um, yeah, I think that's the best way I can sum it up. And I mean, to put more legs under it, authority, you think of something like a father figure, right? Like one of your parents. Uh, as far as respect being demanded, when you're young, there's no talking back. They don't have to explain things to you. What they say goes, and that's it. Versus leadership, you think more so. Let's think more like sports. Say the best player on your team. They lead by example. The things that they do, right? They show up to practice first. They're the last ones to leave. Y'all are going over game film. They're helping everybody out, make sure everybody understands, right? And from there, you follow their lead just based off the respect that has been earned, based off the things that they've done. I would say that's the biggest difference. I say authority is demanded respect, and leadership is earned respect.
For sure. Gotti, what you think? Because I remember we thinking about talking about authority. I'm thinking authority is like that's just a rank, and it is written like UCMJ or you going to jail written that you got to respect the authority or the rank of the people in front of you. But the character behind that rank, I mean, it does matter. What's that difference for
yeah,
you for between character and leadership?
I mean, I guess authority is what you are allowed to do. So what power has been given to you, or what you are authorized to do, and there is no kind of wiggle room with that. But as far as leadership, you don't have to have authority to be a leader. So you have a lot more of a wide spectrum of ways that you can affect
Mm-hmm.
people and situations. So if
Mm-hmm.
I have authority over somebody, I can more or less get you to do whatever I want to do. But if I am your leader, if you look at me as the leader, then I can get you like that's gonna happen anyway. I don't have to use that power. I don't have to use any power other than what it is that I've already brought to the table. And I feel like you can reach a lot higher heights, having
Mm-hmm.
authority, having leadership qualities as opposed to having authority over people. You get more out of them.
100%. No, I love that because it basically puts the onus on you to be responsible for the fact that you when you're in a leadership spot for real, you get what you give. You get what I'm saying? You get what you give right back to you. And it could be the smallest thing. It could be coming into work and having some high energy on a Monday because everybody knows that people tend to not like Monday, so on and so forth. So you come to
Mm-hmm.
work, you got high energy, let's go, boom, boom, bang. Those are the kind of things that you'll get that energy back from everybody under you. It's like, oh damn, this Monday ain't that bad. This motherfucker here singing and shit. You know what I'm saying? And those type of things kind of help galvanize people and make them feel more at home. But when you have people who only use their rank and their authority as the only leverage they have to get people to do what they want to do, what's the harm in that?
I mean, it's a detriment to yourself and what you again, like I was saying, what you can get out of your team. And Cooper's saying the same thing. You get more out of people when they want to work for you as opposed to when they have to.
For
So
Yeah,
sure.
shitty work. That's the
it's
detriment. Shitty work.
Yeah.
and an unhappy workforce, which again translates to shitty work, complacency, whatever negative connotation that we always hear, within the diaspora of military work is associated
And
with.
low retention rate.
Yeah, all of that
Oh
shit
yeah.
is
Oh
that can be directly correlated to shitty leadership.
yeah, for sure.
Hey, not just last year. Ain't nobody been going nowhere. That motherfucker said, "I'm gonna keep this good job."
Yeah, they got y'all locked down. Y'all can't go nowhere.
No, I'm
For
talking. Ain't nobody
For real,
sure.
my
getting
man.
out. They don't want to get out.
Nah, hell
That,
nah.
that damn check. That check ain't. COVID ain't stopped shit. That
Yeah.
check coming.
That
So,
check
hey,
coming. You
matter
gotta
of fact,
Yeah.
hold on to
not
that.
not to take make light of anybody in a tough situation over this past year. Let me say that before you get a little crazy.
Yeah, no, 100%. But the reality of it, it has allowed for job security.
Yeah.
And in the middle of a freaking panorama. That's the one thing you probably want
The
more than
panorama.
anything. Pandemic, get what I'm saying. But nah, it's crazy because I love what Gotti talked about and Coop and pretty much Khalil. Y'all talking about the reality of how negative leadership affects the workforce. And I was reading this article about how so obviously, in your Fortune 500 companies, everything is revenue driven. And so anything that's a loss is accounted for. And they were talking about how one of the biggest losses to any company where you're in like a for-profit setting is the workers who don't want to be there. They cost you more money than anything because they don't produce at the rate that somebody who enjoys working there will. They take too many goddamn vacation days. So they were adding up like all the hours and salaries lost by the people who are working jobs that they don't really like. And that's like $1 billion industry nationwide. That alone is $1 billion problem that needs to be solved. Figuring out how to get people where they want to work, or if they're already there, how to make that environment more appealing to them. And those are
Mm.
some of the things that
Like
prioritizing leadership over authority, I think, will fix.
I don't see that being a problem that they can fix. Cause I'd be damned if anybody make me want to be at work any longer than I have to be.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
the
Any
use you.
longer
thing
I'm
than
gonna
you
I'm
have
gonna
to
is,
be,
I'm gonna use these leave days.
for
the
sure.
thing is when it's profit driven, like when it's profit driven, there's no way you can line up maximizing profit as well as maximizing the human happiness aspect of it. I think the best you can do is try and find some compromise. And of course, like there has been strides made in that direction when you think about the work conditions in like a FedEx warehouse versus an Amazon warehouse. They're totally night and day, and the conditions are just way better in an Amazon warehouse. But yeah, I don't think there will, as long as everything is, and I'm not communist or anything like that, saying things shouldn't be profit driven, but you said
it's,
what?
it's it's definitely dependent on the industry as well. So like somebody like Google, they can afford to make their employees a little bit more happy because in turn they're gonna get them, like Henry was saying, get them at work longer or willing to be there longer than they might have been the year before and get better work out of them. It don't matter how long you get people at Amazon to stay, like them shit's gonna move regardless.
For sure.
That's true.
They filling vacancies.
Yeah.
But it's important, man, to prioritize leadership over authority because we hear all the time that you know like I said, you respect the rank over everything, and because I'm this rank, you got to listen, and that's not flying over anymore. And the reason why it's not flying over is because the Air Force as a whole, speaking about the Air Force specifically, has really made it a point, especially in these recent years. I mean, all of the changes that we've seen come downhill that we'll kind of have another episode dedicated to, whether it's dress and appearance changes, whether it's virtual reality in the mental health space. There's so many different things happening where leaders in other places, like the upper tier of leadership, are prioritizing people. That then forces your lower tier leaders and immediate supervisors. You can't really get away with that crap anymore. There's too many avenues where now people are being prioritized, and I think that's one of the best things for us as a business going forward, because everybody know the Air Force is a little bit more corporate than traditional military anyway, in their functionality. And some of those top leadership skills are integrity. It is accountability. You got effective communication, and I would say collaborating, right? Because collaborating is twofold: working with people and then being able to delegate. Um, Best leaders you've worked for, or best situation you've been a part of.
All right. Best leaders I've worked for, definitely senior master sergeant Green. Super charismatic, super engaged, very caring person. He used to be MTI, so he's got a different type of charisma, but you know he wasn't like a mean guy by any means. He's probably one of the nicest people I've ever met, and he could talk to a fly on the wall and get something out of everybody. Um, so he's definitely up there. Talk about Sergeant Aon all the time, and we can we can damn near dedicate a whole episode to how she's impacted our careers. Wonderful, wonderful woman. Even better leader. Sergeant Eubanks, one of my very first supervisors, he made me comfortable being in this Air Force. He's this white guy from Georgia. So we just, for whatever reason, we had a lot of things in common, and he let me be myself, and he was always himself around me. So again, it was really super important that early in my career for me to feel that level of comfortability with somebody who was my superior in rank, and he was my first raider as well. So off the top of my head, those are three of the best people that I've worked under.
Hmm.
For sure. What you got, Coop? Shout them out, man. Yeah, be sure to let some. Like, if you telling the best leader you work for, tell us why too, man. Give people their flowers while they're here to see them and smell them.
Definitely be Sergeant Aeon, like Gotti said. We pretty much all gonna have the same answer there. But reason being is because in her position, she didn't she didn't call off no stops, right? She was on top of it, right? And she was strict. And being a honor guard NCOIC, you kind of need that, right? So I think the biggest thing from her that impacted us the most is she let us be who we were. We didn't have to conform to I guess the Captain America look at things. You know what I mean? We didn't look like Captain America. We looked like who we was. You know. So
Killmonger.
we was who we was, and she let us strive. You know, some people wouldn't get away with some of the stuff that we did. You know, uh, like Henry said, he had an issue with being punctual. So she was on him. She was definitely on him, but
Coop used to ride with me.
she understood. You know, some of the things
Yes.
that we might do or say in the work setting, we might have to look over at her like, we about to be in trouble for that. But she would have like a little smirk and just go on in the other room or something and just let us be who we was, and it worked. And I think that worked not only for us but for everybody. Though she was strict, everyone still kind of got to be who they was, and I think that worked and helped everybody in the training setting feel comfortable, so that we can go out there and excel and perform, funeral honors for those who passed before us. So um, and you got people like uh, Sergeant Madison. He ended up taking her position after a couple other people. He was pretty good as well. Real straightforward, to the point, strict, especially after coming from different NCOICs that weren't as strict, and the program kind of took a lick there. When he came back, he kind of came back up due to the fact that he was strict. And at that time, I was the lead trainer, so it was kind of good cop, bad cop kind of situation. You know, they hated him, but they loved me, so we was able to make it work, and it ended up working out really well. Uh, and then another one back in my regular job as a crew chief. The list really go on there for different reasons, big or small. One that kind of stands out is Sergeant Murdoch. I still talk to all of them pretty much. Well, Madison and Murdoch, I talk to them all the time about different things, and I think that's pretty cool to be able to reach out and have little conversations, about just different stuff. Talk about shit that we went through, just insider stuff, whatever it is. I think that's pretty cool. So those are my three top. Those are my top three. Like I said, the list goes on for different reasons, big and small. So sorry if I ain't shout you out, but it is what it is.
Word for sure. No, it's a long list, and that's a good thing, man. I think it's the when you listen to what we've done, where we are, what we've accomplished, and then obviously this will be shared more and more the more episodes we have. It's a testament to the people we've had around us, and I think we've all been fortunate. I remember hearing Gotti talk about Sarin Eubanks when we was back in Charleston. So it's cool knowing that we all had people around us. Definitely Sarin Aon for sure, mainly because I don't know if there was any more clarity than being in the honor guard where like Air Force image, practice, discipline is most demanded and then still being allowed to be yourself. I don't know if there's any more enlightening moment than that. And I think that's what the honor guard brought forward for all of us. And just to be clear, we did specialize in delivering results. I don't
Oh
want there to
yeah.
be any assumption that like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, nah, we practiced our asses off. Uh, we did what we were supposed to do as team members. We held tryouts for a lot of the top events. We passed the tryouts and we did the top events. Um,
And she
but she
wasn't
still,
letting us do whatever it is that we wanted to do
yeah,
either.
nah,
She
we
she just
still,
let us be ourselves and allow our own distinct and personal leadership styles as young black men to be what they were, and it
yeah,
worked.
for sure, and women too. Like I loved everything about the way she managed just uh differences and got to the root cause of like who's doing their job, who's helping this team, and who's not. Because there's definitely people on both of our rotations that got the boot. We ain't even finished with the same people we started with. So special shout out to her. I got to shout out Son Price. Got to shout out Son Price. Real technical, savvy, extremely knowledgeable guy. Any question I had back when I was asking a lot of questions, he was the one that had that answer and the patience to kind of help me navigate that. And he gave me a chance to be myself too. And I remember telling him like, I don't really need nothing special for you, but we both got to be ourselves. So like we both like when I come to you, I need shoot straight, and I'm gonna shoot straight, and we gonna find something healthy in that. Cause I can't do the bureaucratic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do the bureaucratic BS is what I call it. Say what you need to say so we can move on.
Yeah, no, I say that to my supervisors now. Like, I thrive off of very direct and intentional leadership. Like, tell me exactly what you mean, what you want me to do, and where I'm fucking up at. Like, that's the main thing. Like, please tell me where I fuck up because I ain't gonna know unless you tell me. Because I have a bad habit of having blind spots and delusions of grandeur about myself sometimes. So I definitely
For
need
sure.
need people to bring me back to
To
earth.
reel me in, to reel me in. And when you mentioned that, that makes me think about I'll say my last two. I had Sarin Gonzalez. Sarin Gonzalez, I can't wait because my next question is gonna be the worst situation you ever been a part of. And she was in it, but not because of her. But Sarin Gonzalez was really, really cool because she was old school to the point where like her leadership style, like I said, it was kind of like she put us in front and walked behind. But her main thing was, y'all got to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's y'all turn to do this. It's y'all turn to make these calls. I'm gonna be here if you fuck up, but best believe y'all grown and y'all gonna start really handling stuff. And then Sarn Schwinnon, he was the last shop chief I had before our PCS out of Charleston. And I remember we sat down and did our ACA. And thanks to having Price and having Sarn Gonzalez, I was like, look, man, and he was a sports fan. He was from Atlanta, and we had the same birthday. So I will not lie and say that some of our connection wasn't star based. But when we sat down for the ACA, I was like, look, bro, talk to me
This motherfucker e
like a
girl.
football coach. I need accountability. I need somebody to call out when I'm messing up, and know that I'm a talk back, but toe that line, and we gonna work well together forever. Now I ended up talking to him like a couple months ago, and I didn't even know he had remembered that, and he was like, "Yeah, man, your ACA was the easiest. You pretty much just said talk to you we needed to talk to, and you didn't never fight back. You took it with stride." And I was like, "Look, man, I told you. I just let's go. I'm ready. I'm here to work, here to do my job. All I need is continuous. Let's go. Stay focused. Let's do this." And he was probably the best at that, man. All right, so Khalil, Best leader you worked for, best situation you've been a part of. See what you got going on over there in Fort Hood.
For sure. I'm gonna take this time to shout out my boy Soren Terry, man. My boy Soren Terry. He was my one of my first. Well, he's the only NCO to have the privilege of being my team chief and also being my platoon sergeant at the
The
same time.
Hey,
privilege.
the
The
privilege.
privilege.
Oh yeah, the privilege. The privilege. Yeah, me working under you is a privilege for sure. For
Talk
what
your shit.
Oh
for
my
what it was
God.
worth when it was worth something. You know what I mean? But just overall, I mean, we've had countless experiences being in the field. Him teaching me numerous things, how to set up an STT, how to properly work an STT. I mean, numerous things. Also, just
What is that? Because my mind went somewhere else.
an
Sounded like a
STT.
Yeah,
sexually
and that
transmitted
yeah
disease to me.
yeah. What is an
Oh no,
STT?
STT, not STD. Satellite tactical terminal.
Oh,
It's a
appreciate
piece.
that.
Yeah, it's a piece of equipment that 25 Quebecs, which was my MOS, we had to work with frequently in Fort Hood.
You can't just leave that one in the air like that, brother.
For real.
Oh, I mean, if you are a fan of the podcast, then you
Okay.
definitely have
Okay.
heard what an STT is.
I
So
have been here the whole time.
He did talk about it the first episode. I do
I
remember
did.
he talked about it the first episode. That's all I remember though. I do remember hearing it. I
Well,
don't.
that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough
That
to
joint
get
went
me
right
out of
over
this
my head.
situation.
Oh man.
My eyes
Uh,
bucked. I said, he gave you what? Y'all did what?
cause everything that come from your side be a little interesting too. Cause
Yeah,
I ain't
y'all.
forget about that green weenie.
The words y'all
Oh,
use to describe shit it throws me off. So I have to.
Be
I need
fine.
I need clarity and context with the
Mr.
army.
Army, bro.
Yeah,
It's the
for sure.
army, bro.
We
Damn.
gotta do it though. We gotta do it though. Flowers were given. It's time for the tomatoes. Bring them out.
Oh.
Worst leader you've worked under or worst situation. Now, mind you, you ain't gotta say no names, but I think it's fair to throw the tomatoes so other people can learn.
Um, I, I'm gonna let
Hmm.
somebody else go first.
I
That's
go.
right. Khalil, not Khalil, yeah, we gonna let Khalil go because he always got the spiciest take.
Okay. Thinking about the worst time I've had in the military under leadership. Uh, Shit, bro. That is such a tough thing to narrow down. You know what I mean? From the start, I'm talking about from the moment 2 feet touch Fort Hood. I mean, it's just been me searching for leadership. Like I said, I mean, it's
God.
good leadership has been spotty, like very spotty in my time in Fort Hood. So I don't have just one moment or one thing I can just bring up. If anything, the only thing I remember are the good times.
God
Hmm.
damn.
That man said he buried that trauma and that pain.
Yeah, for sure. We got out. We don't look back.
Mm.
You know what? I'm not even gonna say nobody name. I'm gonna go for a situation. I'm gonna go straight for the situation, right? Told you I was the lead trainer at Honor Guard. It's a year position, right? Most people go to Honor Guard for a 3 month rotation or 2 3 month rotation, so a total of 6 months and they done. Some people get to go longer, some don't. But the Honor Guard lead position is a year slot. You're there the whole year, right? A lot of continuity there. Um, I'm gonna start from the top down. I'm going for the chief of the squadron.
God
I ain't
damn.
gonna say their name, but for whatever reason, they could not keep people in the position of NCOIC, which is a 3 year slot. Uh,
Okay.
I went through five. I ain't gonna say five. It was four. It was four.
In
I
a
went through
year?
four in 1 year.
Bro
Four
was out here like Baker
NCOIC.
Mayfield. How many coaches
You hear
Baker
me?
had?
God damn.
I went through four. People couldn't get coded to stay. They end up getting deployed. They end up getting orders to another base. It was bad, right? So at one point it got to a point where the last person that was there, he didn't get deployed or PCS. He ended up getting fired, right? Really nice dude, you know, people person. he couldn't be strict enough for the position, and people walked all over him for it. Like I said, I like the guy. I just don't feel like he was the right person for the position.
Did he have real bug eyes? I think I
Nah,
know
I
who you
don't think
talking
so.
about. I'm thinking about somebody else then.
Nah, I know you talking about somebody else. But yeah, that was the situation. And like I said, I blame from the top down because that person, whoever sat in that seat, I'm not gonna say their name, they was the one that was supposed to get people coded so that they couldn't get deployed, so that they could stay in the position. Eventually, she got wind of the overall morale and just how things weren't going as well as they should be. Remember when we told y'all we was an award-winning team, so going from that to
Was.
where it ended up being, the person ended up getting it right. So by firing the person and putting Sergeant Madison didn't come in at that point, and he was more strict, and things changed dramatically or drastically, both um, for the good. So
For sure. And I think you got to add a little bit more context now because with you being the honor guard lead trainer, all them position changes directly falls on you and how you're able to do your job because you're kind of like the middleman between that NCORC and the whole team.
right.
So that's a lot to go through in 1 year.
So first of all, to get picked as the lead trainer or selected, it's a vetting process, right? And you got to go up against the board and all these different things. So you got to kind of be, like we like to say, hot shit. You
You would
know,
you would have lost if I was there.
nah, no sir, I promise you that. But anyway,
Shit.
if you want to go back and do a test, I still show you up. It ain't nothing.
Shit, y'all. We already did it. Y'all all lost. I beat West.
Boy, crazy. You
I was
smoking?
there. You was there. Oh
Get
wait,
ready.
y'all might have actually been off the rotation.
I hope you passed that drug test.
I can't
Yeah, I'm
remember.
about to say I don't
Yeah,
remember this.
y'all really making the spot hot. No, I think yeah, all y'all was gone, and we played knockout, and I ended up beating everybody, including
Oh,
West.
word,
Yeah,
word. Damn, that's crazy.
Where damn, I done lost my train of thought now.
my
You was
bad.
talking
Oh,
about how
you got vetted.
you caught the flack. You got
you got
vetted to get the
yeah.
position.
Yeah, so like you had to be pretty good at what you did, right? Or at least honor
Coop,
guard
stop being candid.
in
Stop
general.
being candid. You were good, man. It
I
ain't
was
gonna be
nice.
pretty good. You had to be good. You was nice.
I was nice.
Give
So
the
with
people
all
what
the
they want to hear.
NCO,
God damn it.
I was nice. So with all the NCOIC changes, I was pretty much the walking continuity book, right? All those NCOIC
Hmm.
changes. As a senior airman, I had to make sure things were still getting done, not just training. I'm talking about back office stuff. I had to make
Hmm.
sure all that stuff was getting done, as well as train the new NCOIC that came through. Um, they pretty much, I mean, they had like a little walkthrough with the old NCOIC before they left, but it was only like 2 weeks, and there was still like little stuff that you're not gonna read out of a book that you just not gonna know unless you experience it. So me having that experience, I kind of had to deal with that, and it kind of made the situation strenuous on me. I was able to handle it, but as far as situations go, that would be probably the shittiest situation I was in. But we still managed to do very well um, and prevail on the back end. So, like I said, from the top down, it was just error after error. Luckily, she made a decision to put the right person in the seat, and things changed drastically after that.
For sure. Come on with it, Gotti.
I've been trying to think, and it was hard because I can't say that I've been under like directly under super bad leadership. But I can think that is one really awkward situation that actually everybody that was in my squadron at the time had to deal with. I'm not gonna say any names because these are somewhat high-ranking people, but these was wing leadership at the time, and they came out to do a visit, and they had it in their head to like now keep these they weren't very personable people at all. So like they were already whenever they came around just super awkward and in my opinion they didn't take much to heart whenever they did get feedback from airmen and NCOs and stuff when they asked for it. Nothing I didn't see any movement on it. So I already didn't have very good feelings about these people anyway. But they got it in their head that it would have been insightful and impactful for us to see this. What do you call it? I guess every week or every something like that. Every week or yeah, at the end of every week they would like sit and have a quote unquote candid conversation with each other, as people. And they did that like in front of us at a commander's call. So like imagine like matter of fact, it's hard to explain because like listening to a podcast is kind of like what we were doing, but they're really awkward as well. So they were sitting like in front of all of us talking to each other as if nobody else was there. So it's not like a podcast actually, because when I'm speaking, I know people are listening to what I'm saying. It's there's meant to be an audience. They was talking like
Mm.
it was just both of them to each other in front of us, and we was meant to get something meaningful from that. And then they just when they was done, they just kind of looked at us like there was no questions, there was nothing to go off of. We were just done. So on top of them already being super awkward and having their own agendas as leaders, that was like their parting gift to us on their way out. So that's my little story, I guess.
Major why am I here vibes.
Yo, everybody, like we were all in the crowd, like literally just looking at each other, like, what the fuck are they talking about? Because you could even tell, they wasn't. Obviously, they're not gonna be actually candid and honest. Like, they're not gonna say what they really. Ain't nobody cuss. Ain't nobody say nothing crazy. Like, y'all ain't doing this shit for real. So what is this? Is really super performative for absolutely no reason because nobody asked for this. You inserted yourself in our space to put on this weird ass show. So that was, yeah,
Yeah.
that was probably my one of my worst experiences with leadership, without getting too specific about anything else that could be going on.
For sure. The most time. So for me, man, my worst supervisor is in jail. So I would say you, you feel me? That kind of and it ain't no secret what's good with that situation. So that kind of opened up the floodgates for me a little bit. Now I work for Technical Sergeant Mahalik. So crazy thing was he was my tech school instructor when I came through here, and then we got orders to Charleston at the same time. And going from Technical Sergeant Jack to him, I really thought that was going to be phenomenal because he was laid back. I didn't know his laid back came with like just actually being shitty. But Technical Sergeant Jack drove a really, really hard bargain. Like if we was late to work, we had to meet her at the track at 4 in the morning and run sprints and stuff. Like she ran a hard bargain. So I was like, man, hopefully this dude is cool. Now he sucked. And it didn't really matter at what point. So you got to think, he's a technical sergeant at the time that I'm a senior airman. So we're in a small shop. So now I'm kind of like filling that senior airman staff sergeant role as far as programs or like shift management, all that kind of stuff, and everything is cool. But he sucks at his job. So I'm talking about he's getting decertified from tasks. He's got like this crazy stuff going on at home. He's never able to be at work, never able to be on the shift. Just crazy stuff going on with this guy. He's under investigation. So sometimes he's at work, sometimes he's not. We're constantly getting asked questions by OSI.
I
So it was
really need you to add context.
yeah, I'm gonna get there. So it was a crazy circumstance. It was a crazy, crazy circumstance. This guy was in charge of our equipment. He sent our working equipment away in place of equipment that didn't work. So everything he could do to make our job harder, he did. But this individual, essentially, he went to jail for molesting his stepchildren, and we had to
Burn, burn them.
burn him, right? So I had to participate in the court martial and testify against him for that. When he got decertified for all of his tasks for 6 months, because my job is NDI, we go out and do inspections on parts. He went out, did an inspection, called it bad when it wasn't. The problem was he ended up calling like this incredibly large aspect of the tail or the tail assembly. He called an incredibly large region of that
The
uh,
rudder.
the rudder. Yeah, he called the rudder
I
bad, right? We
remember
talked the rudder on the C-17 is
because
it's
I had to
huge.
change that bitch.
Yes. So he calls this rudder bad. That's not bad. And the problem is people like Coop got to dedicate like 3 days worth of work getting this rudder off the aircraft and down into the hangar so the repair can be initiated. But there's no repair to do because he called it bad for no reason. So as a result of that, he gets decertified in all of his inspection tasks, which means that we're now down a body for standby and work. So this is the type of shit that we're dealing with, man. Him touching his people that he shouldn't have been touching, us getting pulled into all kind of offices for a year long, having to answer questions as a part of the investigation, trying to see what we know. He got caught up in that sextortion stuff, so He was sending explicit images of himself
God
from the
damn.
office while we were at work and stealing from our snack bar to cover up for the debts.
Wasn't it
Shit
cuz
Um,
bogus.
watching? He was watching porn at work too, wasn't he?
I don't know what he was doing to get himself started, but I know he was sending the final pictures off to everywhere and got caught up with it. So this dude was really just driving us to hell. On top of the fact that he and I had an absolute horrid personal relationship. So I can't even begin to speak just the craziness. Like it would be day. I remember when Sarah Gonzalez first PCS, her first day there. I get to work. Sarah Mahalik's walking out. Now this is her first day there. She's here to take the place of the lead staff at the time. I'm a senior airman. So technically, him being the tech sergeant will be responsible for training her and spinning her up. We cross each other in the parking lot. He's leaving. I'm coming in. He's like, "Hey, Sergeant Gonzalez is here. Make sure she gets what she needs." Now this is on the back end of all his bullshit. So I'm like, "Yo, you got to be kidding me! Like you're useless." So here I am taking this staff sergeant around, showing her the ropes, having to brush her through the different tasks that we're doing, and like having to do that every day of the week because he just disappeared. Just a bunch of crazy stuff. I would say the worst situation that I was a part of that he was involved in as well probably was in my granny passed. I had to go on this MRT. So we had these maintenance recovery teams that would leave Charleston to go and recover jets, and they would come down randomly. And I was the only person that hadn't been on one at the time. So I was like, okay, you know what? And I didn't have any kids, no wife at the time. So I'm like, I bet I'll do it because everybody else has had to drop in, like get babysitters and stuff in order to do it. So I go on this MRT. We end up going to Louisiana, Alexandria, Louisiana, right after the hurricane came through and shredded Baton Rouge. And the reason why we had to go is because an egret went into the engine intake and shredded the engine. It was absolutely blown out,
A
blades everywhere.
bird?
Yes,
Uh,
yes, because the alignment of each of those engine blades is so particular, anything could get in there and kind of throw it off. So we go down there. You know, I go down there as NDI, supporting the other two main shops needed to get that plane back in the air, but there's not much for me to do. And so when my granny, I got the phone call that she had passed away. I was like, okay, hey, you know, is it possible for you to get me back? Just call somebody and see if it's possible for me to get back because I'm not needed. Because I was only needed on the first day. We ended up staying there for 3 to 4 days, but every day I did absolutely nothing. I literally was doing my homework in the truck. So I'm like, if I can get back home because they're not needing me, it would be great. The team that I was with, it was a team from Charleston, a team from another base. They were like, yeah, this NDI guy is like if we could get his orders changed to send him back for in place of a Jets guy who can actually help us, that would be great. Because I was just filling up dead space. And so I called him. Mind you, I got dispatched to leave at like 3 in the morning. So I called him at like 7 o'clock on like the second or third night. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. Can you get me back? He's like, well, nobody's awake right now. And I'm looking at the phone like, well, that's not true, because it's only 7 o'clock at night. Somebody, one of these flight line pro supers coordinators is awake, right? And I'm fully aware that we're in the military. The likelihood of this being possible is slim, but I would at least like for you to try. So then he reports it back to them that I said my granny, but then I lied because she meant my grandma. So it's a bunch of chaos with that.
what
Um,
what the fuck is the difference?
I don't know, but this is what I was told. And so we're in Alexandria. The goal was to fly back on that plane once it was repaired. We repair that plane, and they say, okay, hey, now we need you to drive to Baton Rouge to repair that plane, and you're going to come home on that plane. So I'm like, no, I don't want to go down there because this is maintenance, and maintenance is full of Murphy's Law, also known as whatever the fuck can go wrong probably will. I don't want to go with this team to Baton Rouge because I don't believe that I'm going home, right? So we going back and forth, back and forth. My main issue with him is that he just didn't give a fuck and didn't try. He even told me that like when his grandma died, nobody really cared about him, and this is the military. So I was like, all right, bet. So I go to Baton Rouge because I don't really have a choice. This is fresh after the hurricane. We don't really have nowhere to sleep, right? We in the crappiest hotel ever because a lot of the city is still flooded out. Had to eat at Waffle House. We go to this plane. They work on the plane the whole day. I'm talking about the whole day, sun up to sundown. I'm in this bitch crying, 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 talking to Deja, Deja being my wife, trying to like hold myself together because I'm really just sitting here having to process this shit with nothing to do and no reason to be here. And as a result of me crying and going crazy and whatnot, just trying to process everything that was happening, because it's like my first time dealing with that while being a professional. They're working on this engine intake. And we got to the airport at like 8 in the morning. We stayed there till 10:30 at night. They're working round the clock trying to get it fixed. They cut that motherfucking plane on at 10:30 at night. Nothing but oil and smoke blew out the back of that motherfucker. It was busted, right? I knew that if we came down here, I wasn't gonna get home, right? So I'm fucking livid. I call him back. I'm like, yo, this is absolutely ridiculous. I told y'all this is a bad idea. Either way, what ended up happening um, was I was told by the team there to stay the night at the fire station connected to the airport, and I was gonna catch a flight back. I didn't really know what was going on, but that's just what I was told by that team. So I stay the night at the fire station and fly back to Charleston. When I get back to Charleston, I get a text message saying that there's an Article 15 potentially being prepared on your behalf for going AWOL.
Wow.
And I'm like, I didn't go AWOL. I did exactly as I was told by the people that I was with. And so when we get back to the shop, I'm looking for his ass because I already know it's Sergeant Mahalik and spunt up this bullshit. So I get off the plane hot. I'm ready literally for whatever happens. And he goes home. He didn't want to be there when I got there. He had Sergeant Price there to receive me.
Oh,
I mean, he's like, go home, go home. It's gonna be okay. Go home. I'm just trying to tell you what's potentially on the table based on the way the situation came out. And I'm like, bro, why would I go? Why would I go AWOL? It doesn't make sense. I didn't pay for my own ticket. This is what I was told to do. So I go to Coop room. He's in the dorms upstairs. He cut my hair because I already knew that it was gonna be a situation the next day when I got back to work after I got off the plane. But I wanted to be ready at all stages. So I went to Coop room, cut my hair. Jalen's up there. We talk about it. I get to work the next day. Sergeant Mahal is like, man, you know, you were one of my best troops, and I'm just so absolutely disappointed in you. I just can't believe this is how your story is gonna end. And I'm like, word, okay. And he's like, well, I got to go talk to the flight chief, and I'll be back, and we'll get this process started. Like on some I hate to see this type shit. And I don't even flinch because I know deep down that I don't know exactly what happened, but I did everything that I was told. Turns out the other team that I was with coordinated with their people and got me out of there. So they kind of did me a solid. I didn't do anything wrong. They just got me out of there. Had our flight leadership been in contact with the team that we were with, all of this communication could have been had. There would have been no Article 15 pending because I didn't go AWOL. So the negligence and lack of care that he offered as a supervisor, pretty much at all times, all the way up to his incarceration, was about 2 years that I wish I didn't have
Yeah,
to go
dude's a
through.
piece of shit.
Oh, in ways that I can't even imagine, bro. When he got caught up with that sextortion, he was stealing from my shop bar to fucking cover his debts. Everything you can think he did wrong, he did it. He'd
Dude
come to
said,
work and
"My
ask my
grandma died
coworkers,
too. We in the
yeah,
military."
yeah. I'm talking about he
I'm
went
trying
through
to
That's
EO
figure
with
out
him.
that's
what
crazy.
the hell is the difference between a grandma and a granny?
That's just pretty much how he told it. He said that I was lying. I don't know if people don't use the term granny often or what.
He
I
probably
don't know
just
what
went AWOL.
he might as well.
Well, let
Fuck
him tell
around
it
with
he
around
did.
shit.
Let them
It's,
tell it I did. Nah, they threw the team that I was with, man. They just threw me a bone, man. They kind of looked out and got me swapped. They needed to swap me anyway, and they just expedited it on their side to get the orders cut to get me out of there. And so
I'd
that
have
was
found an
really cool.
email or something with my commander number, and I'd have called him directly.
That shit was crazy, bro.
That's
That shit
called
was crazy.
leadership.
I'd be in that bitch googling numbers. I
That
got, I
shit,
got
What?
I got to
man.
talk to
I was
somebody.
ready. I was ready. He just happened to come back from the flight chief and was like, "We had it wrong. I knew you weren't that bad. We had it wrong. It turns out that they did this, that, and the third." And I was like, "Hey, bro, no matter how this would have shook out, I was gonna end up on top." And we
Yeah.
didn't speak probably in person from that situation on the rest of the time that we worked together. I don't think we said
Nah,
one word to each other,
he on the hit list.
Ain't shit to
like
say.
at all. I'm talking about bro
Yeah.
came to work.
It ain't no work he can
That's,
do in the first place, so we ain't even got to talk about work no more. So
it
what the
can't talk
fuck
about
we
work or
talking about?
nothing. Like this dude came to work and asked the females in my shop what size uh feminine products like tampon, tampon should he buy for his wife, bro. That's an EO complaint, bro. That's
Why
that's
not
where his
ask
head
your
was at.
wife?
We'd had no
Why
idea.
not ask your wife?
We were all absolutely disgusted.
Like, bro, I
Absolutely.
don't know.
Mouth on the
And you know
floor.
what?
I can't believe this just happened.
You know what? I've been hearing stories about this man for years, but I will never not be surprised.
It's bad, man. We was really going through craziness. Like it ended up being one of the main reasons why Sarah Gonzalez got out because it took us a long time to get some type of closure and like get him out of our workspace so that we could actually enjoy coming to work again. It was absolutely insane. Um, and she was like, forget that. And she had great backup plans, and she's doing perfectly fine now. But it was stressing her out because everything that he didn't do, with her being like the assistant NCYC, that fell on her shoulders, and she was exhausted. She couldn't deal with that no more. Um, but yeah, I would say that's my worst leader, worst situation for sure.
By far.
By
Yeah,
far.
it's hard for
Easy.
anybody to top that shit. I'm glad you went
Yeah,
last.
took the cake.
I tell you right. Well, it's hard for y'all to top it, but there's some motherfuckers around here now. They trying. Uh, in closing, in closing, man. Advice for all leaders responsible for the well-being of minorities at this time. We ain't touched on it yet, and it's important.
Mm, get to know your people. Like really get to know your people without any previous assumption of what you thought you might have known beforehand. And then take that shit to heart, what it is that they saying and what it is that you're learning. And then react appropriately because if you have all this knowledge, you know all these things, it means nothing if you don't um,
Put them to
lead those
use.
people in the best way possible, specific to each of those individuals and the collective as a whole.
I like that. I like that. Coop, what you got, man? Best advice for with you being a minority yourself, working with other minorities. What's the best advice to lead people different from you?
Um, basically what Gotti said, just get to know them, especially from a cultural standpoint, uh, and really put that to use, because that's gonna take you a long way, as well as empathizing too.
Hmm.
Put yourself in their shoes and where they come from, and to the best of your ability, try to make people feel like they're a part of a team, uh, a part of a collective. That goes a long way as well.
Khalil, what you got, man?
Yeah, Coop said a real important word, empathy. I think empathy is a real big thing, especially when we're talking about in terms of minorities, because the ability to show that you are trying to relate, I think that in itself helps a lot of things, as well as actually being able to execute and actually understand. um it just makes the communication go smoother, and I think, like, for me, communication is key with everything. As long as everybody is perfectly understanding what is being understood or what needs to be understood, um then that makes the work a whole lot easier.
It
For
does.
sure. Yeah, I agree with all of y'all, man. Main thing I say is uh, don't be sorry, be careful. So just
Hmm.
pay extra special attention to the words that you're using and the assumptions that you're making when you're dealing with people that you don't know that well. It's best to tread lightly with people you don't know that well anyway. It's kind of stupid to be overzealous, but you never know what somebody's capable of or what they're going through. And do the work to get to know somebody's culture beyond the surface level of like headlines or what's easily available to you via the select people you follow on Facebook that typically agree with you. Get outside of yourself a little bit.
Yo, I got this a Native American guy that works under me now. I ask that boy 4 or 5 questions every day. I know he tired of me, but
For
I ain't never
sure.
been around no Native American people, and I really
For
don't know
sure.
nothing about Native American people. So I
Um,
And it's a
be,
whole lot to learn too.
yeah, I
yes.
promise. I know he tired of me, but I really
Yes.
want to know so I can make sure I don't say nothing crazy to him.
I
Yeah.
I do that with every student I have. Anything is unique about them, special, different, I'll be like, hey man, the floor is yours. It's an opportunity for everybody in here to learn more about you, where you stand, where you're from, and sharing in safe spaces and with people showing you that they can be empathetic towards you and considerate towards you. It's the best way for us to be able to grow. Um, but that was it for me, man. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us out. It's always been a pleasure to be able to sit down with you guys. It's another special, kind of extra spicy episode of Open Ranks. So be sure if you're listening to us, if you're paying attention to the ratings, make sure you share how you're feeling, give us some advice or critiques. 3, 4, 5 star rating. Just let us know what you're thinking about everything that we're putting out so far. We are
Cause
on
it
YouTube.
damn show can't be a 1 or 2. I know that for damn sure.
Can't be a one or a two. Yeah, I ain't stooped that low for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It's 3, 4, 5 for real. But let us know how you feeling. We definitely on YouTube now, so Be sure to use the link tree available to you in our bio on Instagram, soon be on Facebook, so you can find us. And as always, I'll see you when I see you. Peace.